You, me, and HIFMB. Stories of Science and the Sea.
Hello everybody and welcome to the next episode of the HIFMB podcast. This one is all about science communication. We have Gema Martínez Méndez from Spain and Rebecca Borges from Brazil as our guests. They both work on a science communication project called Once Upon a Time. It's a collection of different fairy tales about different scientific projects or different scientific studies that are then told in a fairy tale setting. So the second edition of their fairy tale collection book has just launched or has launched recently. And they're very keen to do a third one. So maybe if you want to be involved in the third edition of these scientific fairy tales, maybe give them an email. They'll be keen to work with you, I'm sure. And without further ado, I give you Gema and Rebecca. Okay, everybody. Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the HIFMB podcast. And today it's all about science communication with Gema and Rebecca. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So you, we were just talking before the recording about what you consider yourself, and it's a bit complicated, I think, or a bit complex.
Yeah, I can start because I think in my case it's less complex than in Rebecca's case. So I will go for the easy part, saying that I am a marine scientist because my bachelor is called Marine Sciences indeed.
Yeah.
And then I have been working in marine sciences, although in the past for most of my career until I started here as scientific coordinator.
Have you always worked on marine things?
Yeah, marine things.
Yeah. Okay, marine scientist.
Marine scientist it is. Yeah, in my case, I mean, I'm still trying to find out what I am.
Yeah.
Until very recently, I was telling you, I just called myself a marine ecologist. Mm-hmm. Also, because it sounds, I guess, easier to understand, or even like a marine biologist when I'm talking to people that are not, from the area. So I'm a marine biologist, and usually people love to hear that, know, like a marine biologist, like, oh, I've always wanted to be a marine biologist.
Yes, exactly,
People immediately identify with the term, and it sounds easy to understand, and I know what you mean. Yeah. But when it comes to reflecting about it, and it's a tough cookie. I have been thinking about it a lot, and I mean, I started out. I have this background, this training in biology, right? So hardcore natural sciences.
That's your bachelor's, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
A bachelor's, so biological sciences it was called, and a lot of statistics, and along the way I worked with some algorithms and software, and and I always thought of myself as a biologist, but recently, actually since the PhD, I've been trying to move towards the social sciences, and especially towards geography. So I might say that Kim says that everyone can be a geographer, so maybe there's still hope for me that I'm going to be a geographer one day.
Oh, I don't know if I can.
But definitely trying to be interdisciplinary, although I do think that the real potential in interdisciplinarity is when you can do that in a group, in a team of, an interdisciplinary project, so that's really fascinating. But we, as individual researchers, we can try to move towards that.
Which is where the science communication part comes in. But first of all, I just noticed that this is the first time we are recording with two people in the room. So the slightly more Portuguese sounding or Brazilian sounding voice is Rebecca, and the Spanish sounding voice is Gema. So maybe to keep track of this.
Interesting.
All right, so let's get into your project. You've got this really interesting project called Once Upon a Time.
A scientific fairy tale. Yes.
A scientific fairy tale, yes.
Full name.
So give us the inside scoop. What is it? I find it super interesting.
It's a science communication project, as you mentioned. So it started in 2016 as part of a competition from Wissenschaft in Dialogue, Science in Dialogue.
Yeah.
That's an initiative from the Bundesministerium für Bildung, BMBF, Bildung und Forschung.
Yeah. So the German Ministry for
Education and Research.
Yeah, that's the one.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, in 2016-2017 it was the Meeres- und Ozeane year, so Seas and Oceans year, and there was this competition that was called Show Your Science, in which scientists were encouraged to develop projects to communicate about what they do.
Yeah.
Some people at the Marum, where I was working at the time, came with the idea of writing stories with some scientific content.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, they thought for children, and then they got the feedback from the agency, everybody's doing things for children, do you want to move a bit broader? And then they thought, okay, then let's do something with the idea that adults read the stories together with the children so that both can learn about it. And then I joined in 2017 when the project was granted as part of the competition.
Okay, but it wasn't always fairy tales, was it? It was like any story to communicate your science?
Yeah, I mean, fairy tale, the name was chosen because everybody can
relate
to that. At some point we realized maybe the name is not ideal because it may sound also like mocking.
Oh, does it?
The science, maybe in a way, a scientific fairy tale, like, oh, is it true, is it not true?
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about this.
But it was
Me neither.
simply the idea of a fairy tale is every kind of popular story that can be told by boys.
Right, okay.
It doesn't necessarily need to be written, like thinking of the Grimm brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah. And when did you join, Rebecca?
So I was invited at the end of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe 1 or 2 years after the project started,
yeah.
by a colleague, Célia Santos. She wrote to me, she's from Portugal. She said, oh, we need help with the Portuguese translation team. And I was like, okay. And she told me about the project, and I thought it was just fascinating. Like, I actually had never heard, I have to say, everything was very new.
Mm-hmm.
And I already knew some people that were in the project, Dharma, and I was very excited to join. So I
Yeah.
immediately said yes.
Was it always supposed to run for this long, or was it like capped at like?
No, it was meant to run for this competition phase.
Mm-hmm.
So it was granted 2016. It's very good that you mentioned Dharma because we should credit here the original people starting it.
Mm-hmm.
Dharma Reyes, Sandy Bonner, Gert Jansen, Paula Mendoza, Hadar El Sajif. I think those, Pamela Cartes, Russell Cartes, those were like the core people. Vicente Duran.
Where are they all based? All at Marum, or?
Back in the days, they were, most of them at the Marum.
Okay.
Pamela was here at the ICBM.
Mm-hmm.
And Hadar was part at the Marum, part at Haifa University in Israel.
Oh, okay.
So those were like the core people who developed the idea, and then people starting joining, taking different roles.
Yeah, maybe
within the project.
Yeah, we've said Marum so many times now. What is it?
Marum is the Center for Environmental Marine Sciences.
Yeah.
At the Bremen University.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and what is your specific individual involvement in all of this? Maybe we can start with Rebecca. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, I joined specifically the Portuguese translation team.
Mm-hmm.
So my first effort was, or the first task was, let's translate the stories that we already have. I think by then, the first book was already published, or it was like in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
But so the three first languages are usually English, German, and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that we expand from there to other languages. So the Portuguese team said, okay, Portuguese time. Let's do this. And yeah, so that's what I did. And after translating, so after we were done, I actually thought, okay, maybe I can write a story.
Okay, so
Instead of
so
just
the stories.
translating.
Yeah, okay, right. So at first you just translated somebody else's stories, and
Yeah.
Now you're doing your own?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I already
right.
did.
Yeah.
Done. So yeah, so it was a great experience. And like, you know, when you're translating, you're reading the stories and you're like, wow, that's so exciting. Maybe I can write one myself.
Yeah. How long are they, like, on average?
I mean, they're supposed to be very short.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 10 pages, something that
Okay.
you may read aloud in 20 minutes, an
Yeah.
hour.
And what's it like? Is it like an actual little fairy tale story, like Grimm Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't read any of them?
No.
Yeah.
I wanted the full experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was freestyle, so
They are very
everybody
different.
could choose how
Okay.
to write.
So it's totally up to the author.
Yeah, they are very, very different. Like we have some that are, you know, like poetry, you know, that's
Mhm.
like poems, and We have some that are a bit longer, some that are a bit shorter, some that have, you know, a narrator and basically just a narrator, some that have actual characters that are talking. The characters are sometimes animals or, people.
Nice. Yeah. And then they're all bound in a book?
Yes.
And sold? Or given away? Or
no, the books are in the... we had a lot of support from the Marum all the time, so we have a space there in the website where the books are uploaded as PDF and can be downloaded
For free.
For free.
Nice.
And then at some point we also did our own website to have a bit more freedom and more easy access to change contents or include things. And the books are also there as PDF to be downloaded freely. And we are in conversation with a printer in Bremen. I just phoned him this morning indeed. Hopefully that will be coming soon, that we will be able to buy the books at cost price. So we don't want to make any win.
Yeah.
And they will be print on demand.
Okay, and what's your individual involvement? You're in the Spanish team, or?
No, I joined quite from the beginning in 2017, and I just wanted to write a story. And then I became more and more involved because, we're jumping a bit back and forth, but I'm going to make a small parenthesis. Before you ask whether we were thinking that it will be this long, the project. So we started within this competition of science and dialogue, and that was for a year. So there we really had a hard deadline when we have to submit a product.
Okay.
And because of that, I became more and more involved because I was maybe a bit of the seniors in the group, and I was seeing if we don't push it a bit harder, we are not gonna make it.
Yeah.
And in kind of natural way, I became part of the coordination team, and then I stayed in that role for a second round. So after we finished the first book, that was for the competition. And we have our 3 languages, and we won one of the prizes of the competition.
Oh yeah, congrats!
And then we were very enthusiastic, and we have the newcomers like Rebecca joining for translating, but then getting motivated to write a story, and then we thought, okay, let's go for a second round.
Right.
And that's why the project got extended, and for the second round we got money from a Spanish association of researchers in Germany. I presented the project in one of our symposiums, and they were like, it's cool. Are you continuing? Well, we're trying, but we don't have money now. We'll give you money. Write a proposal.
Yeah. Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, and that's how we could produce the second book that we also released in February last year.
Yeah. Sweet. And do you know how long it's going to be funded for? Or
so the funding was a certain amount of money that we could freely use.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we allocated, and that was also part of my role. So I stay as main coordinator of the project and managing the budget. Like, okay, we really need someone who checks the language at the end. Then contracting that people, how much does it cost? Many scientists in the second round didn't write stories but made illustrations. So then we could save money on paying illustrators. That was a big chunk of the money for the first book.
Yeah, what's more expensive, the writers themselves or the illustrations?
The writers are for free because scientists.
Yeah.
Some of them were thinking, we're doing this for free, and it's like, well, you can also think of it as part of your job as scientist.
Yes.
Of course, at the end, publications will count more in your CV than this, but hopefully there will be a time when CVs of scientists will be seen in a bit more broader way than only the number of.
Maybe that's an interesting discussion there.
Because
Because Gema just said, oh yeah, you don't get paid, you're a scientist. And it's just like, well, we're kind of used to that now, right? It's just like, well, you don't get paid, you're a scientist. So we end up like accumulating all these tasks that are kind of bundled together as like the job of a scientist. And could, range from like writing a paper to doing admin work. And I guess it is a bit problematic because we, as Gema said, like we actually, we're producing this very interesting material, but sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it really counts is, publications and how many publications you have. So
But do you have a feeling that it's maybe changing, like that the weight that is given to science communication is getting more now, and that it's actually encouraged?
I really have the feeling it is changing, but we are not there yet.
Yes.
So when I said the writers were for free because we were anyway paid as scientists, I mean it in a good way, in the good way that scientists should be encouraged and appreciated for also taking some of the working time to do these things. At the end, most of us were doing this a little bit in our working time, but mostly in our free time because we felt or we were in this bubble of pressure of, but I need to publish papers, otherwise I don't get the next position. Even for the second book, I did most of the things during my unemployment time when I was waiting for an advanced training that I wanted to do. So that was in a way lucky at the end because then I had something that kept me busy and active and so on, and I could really invest a lot of time in the project and really push it to finish the second book. Because since we didn't have this hard deadline like with the first book, then it was a bit more diluted. And many of the scientists were also moving to other positions, so it was really more difficult than the first one to really get it. And there I realized how much time you actually invest when you are not doing that parallel to other things, but I was doing that from morning to evening, like this is a full-time job.
Yeah, right.
I mean, not maybe all the time so intense because there are moments that you have a lot to do, the moments where you are waiting for things to happen or getting things back to read, to correct, to whatever. But yeah, since then, every time I have the opportunity, I say, I hope that soon scientists will be appreciated more in a broader sense and not only on the publication output, but also on other.
That might also be an explanation for why science is so slow, because they're doing we are doing so many jobs on the side.
Yeah, we have a lot on our plates. Yeah, but I agree with him. I think we're moving towards that. But yeah, it is going a bit slow, and I think we need to push. I mean, I see a few initiatives or a few institutes, like I think HFMB is great at that, I have to say, encouraging you to do that kind of work, and even having like paid positions that are directly related to that. But yeah, we still have a long way to go, but I agree with him. I think we're going there. Yeah.
Excellent. And so the plan going forward with it now is the second book is published and ready and that's it? Or what's the plan going forward?
I let Rebecca.
No, I mean, I know. I was just checking the website today, and I saw that the three languages that I mentioned, like English, German, and Spanish, they are ready, so they can be downloaded. The second book. For the other languages, I did see French, so I see those. The French translation team is just really amazing. They did a great job. Our team is still. I think we are finalizing like really the very last details, but we are done with the translation themselves. It's just like a matter now of design and what is it called, like to make everything fit nicely, you know, with the illustrations, sort of the last stage.
Something like that.
It's the part that I'm not directly involved with. But that should be the stage where we are at right now, and hopefully the Portuguese translation of the second book. I mean, the first book has been translated in many languages. If you check the webpage, what do we have? Like French, Portuguese, Chinese, Italian, Filipino.
Too many languages.
So many languages, because the team was so diverse. Maybe something that we didn't really mention, but like the people that have been, that, you know, were involved and maybe are not anymore right now, but just passed through the project. I mean, they were so diverse from a lot of countries, like everywhere. So we have people from Brazil, from Mexico, from Spain, from Israel, from Italy, from France, from the Philippines. I don't know.
How big is the team, roughly?
It has been around 30 people.
Oh, right.
So few of the people from the first round stay for the second round, also because of mobility in academia. Or because realizing, well, this was really a lot of work, and maybe I cannot afford it again at this moment of my career.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there are these 30 people groups, more or less.
Great. And for like maybe getting a bit more into what you do. What is your individual storytelling style, or what are the stories you've written?
So for me, for the first book, I did try to do this fairy tale style, and indeed I pick up a well-known fairy tale story, or the characters of a well-known fairy tale story. I pick up the Bremen town musicians, because I thought this is a way to get the people, at least in Bremen and abroad as well, because it is a well-known story, more in touch with the story. And then my my inspiration a bit for the story, it was Ulrike Prange at the Marum, at the communications office. She gave us a workshop about to help us a bit with the writing thing, and she was saying like the first sentence is so important there, you really need to pay attention. And I thought about my favorite first sentence, that is Don Quixote. In a place in La Mancha, and blah 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 blah, and then I was like, in a place in Bremen, Bremen, town musicians, climate change, sea level rise, and from there I developed the story.
Okay.
And for the second one, I don't really remember. I clearly remember that I was in my living room and I had been doing a lot of work reading the stories of the other people for the second book. I'm feeling, I don't have an idea for this second book.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I started to think about something funny about a paleo proxy. A proxy is something that you use to learn about something that you cannot directly measure. And it is a funny proxy because it's poo of an animal.
Yeah.
And this animal is also a funny animal because it looks like a rat.
What is it? What's it called?
It is called Ratifante. No, Ratifante is the name that some friends of me and myself, we gave it when we were in Namibia in holidays.
Yeah, right.
Because it looks like a rat, but they are more related to elephants than to rodents. So that's why we call it Ratifante.
Yeah.
And from the poo of these animals, they always poo in the same place. So it is piling up. So at the end you have a column of poo.
That's crazy.
That will also tell you about the food all these generations of.
Yeah, they collected nicely for you.
Of little animals used to eat. It is called in English rock hyrax. Rock hyrax.
Okay, and that was your second story was
and that was my second story, that it was like the animal narrating in a funny way how they poo or how they like to poo.
and is that research you've done personally?
No, I haven't done it personally,
okay.
But indeed I met some scientists that do that in South Africa, and my PhD was about the ocean circulation around South Africa.
Okay.
And I actually emailed the guy like, hey, can you check that I'm not saying anything wrong here in this story? And he was also very excited about the story, like, and I like the name Ratifante. I will use it in my scientific paper.
Sounds super interesting.
So at the end, professional writers, they say that there is no inspiration, there is hard work, like sitting there in front of the blank piece of paper and write. For me, not being a professional writer, I do need this kick of inspiration somehow. And that comes also often when discussing with people, with interacting, and then gets one idea pops up, and then there it moves.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
And what do you, Rebecca?
Yeah, I guess, just what Gema was saying, like I wanted to do something that related to my work. So at the time I was doing my PhD in Brazil. I still work there, actually, still do my research there. So
Where is it in Brazil?
In North Brazil, on the Amazon coast, in the state of Pará, where the Paranusa come from. You only get the Brazil nuts, they're called in English. But the German word, you can actually know which state in Brazil they come from. I find that very interesting. Yeah. Actually, they're not just from there, but mainly from there. And
I had no idea it's because of the state.
Yeah. So there's a state in Brazil called Pará, how we say it. And that's where I do my research. That's where I did my PhD, and I'm still working there. And so this place is like full of these beautiful mangrove forests, and they are just amazing. And I felt like I had to write a story that, was about the mangroves and the animals that live there.
Yeah.
So so that's what I did. I mean, we did have a few workshops in Den Haag about like writing and storytelling. So that was also a bit inspiring. And of course, I had already translated all these stories, I mean, together with the rest of the team. But, you know, I was really inspired at the time. I said, okay, I can do this. It can be much harder than writing an academic paper, right? Well, we can circle back to that, but I can tell you that at least this one took much, much longer than any scientific paper that I have written so far.
Oh, right.
Yes, I was actually, I was checking again, like the, you know, the history of my online doc, and when I created the doc, and I actually had the last edit. So I started writing in May 2018.
Okay.
And I think the English version was ready just shortly after the book was published in February 2021.
Oh, wild.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so it was like 2.5 or maybe 3 years in the making of the story.
It's a lot of effort going into that.
It's a lot of effort. So yeah, like Gema was saying, maybe there are people that can just sit down and, you know, get like, I don't know where they get the inspiration from, but I mean, we were inspired by our own work or the work of people that were close to us, but still it's like you have to think about, okay, who will be the characters, and you know, and I have to say, one interesting thing about Once Upon a Time is that we get so much feedback.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, so for example, when you publish or when you submit a paper, you usually get like 2 or 3 reviewers, right? So that is already intense.
Yeah.
I think for this story, I had at least 5 people looking at it, and
from all scientists or
like anyone that was involved in the project could actually give feedback. So
that's
mainly
great.
from Gema, Hadar, and there was like Manfred towards the end, right? Like he did like the final sort of editing.
Yeah, and Denise
was also yeah, she gave a lot.
very good
Anyone
critics.
in the project could do it. So and I also have to say, I started on my own, but then somewhere along the line I realized, okay, I need help.
Yeah.
So I got a colleague, a really good friend, Guilherme Abuchala. He joined as a co-author. And he really helped me like shape the story, improve it, you know, like change the characters, change the plot. So the story turned out very different than what I wrote, but much better.
Yeah, are you happy with it? Yeah.
I'm very happy with it now. But it was a very hard and long process, and I had no idea. Maybe if I knew, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, where were the challenges for you in writing this?
Yeah, I guess like not being a professional storyteller or you know, like writing for children, because that is something that we talked about these workshops that we had. It's not the same as writing a paper. It's very different, like the language is very different, and you know, you have to tell a story, you have to think about the target audience, which is so hard, because we're writing a story and we're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea who's going to read it, and you know, how much I have to explain certain concepts. We actually always, after the stories, we have a session called like, do you want to know more? Would you like to know more? So we explain, which is really nice about the short stories, that we have really scientific concepts like what is a protected area, what are mangroves, and but you know, in the story itself, you have to think about, okay, the plot, you know, it has to be interesting, but it cannot be super complicated. You know, I'm not going to talk about like all the possible, you know, like factors related to the creation of protected area and the regulations. And I mean, it's for children, even though we also met adults. But so that was the hardest part, I have to say, to think about something that was interesting, that was accurate. That is also very, very hard to do. Like, it doesn't matter how much you try to, you know, make it simple, it still has to be scientifically accurate. Yeah. So that is so hard, I have to say.
How do you gauge the level of detail? Like, whenever I even write a Twitter summary for my papers, it's like, okay, this isn't as detailed as I would like it, but how do you, when do you know it's still accurate, technically? It's a super hard target to hit, I think.
It's really hard. I guess that's where the feedback comes in. And
it's
very important.
That's right.
Because you have other people reading it, and then they, even, for example, Guilherme's my co-author, he's also like a marine biologist, also working on mangroves. So, you know, whenever I said something, oh, maybe, you know, that's oversimplified, or, you know, you're simplifying so much that it's just not accurate anymore. Yeah. So, or maybe you can say it differently so that it still makes sense, but it's less complicated. It's, I mean, I'm not sure if I found like the right balance, I have to say. I hope I did, but I guess you learn along the way. So that's like the nice part about the whole thing. You learn, and maybe the second story that I write will take maybe just 1 or 2 years.
Are you happy with the Portuguese version or happier with the English version?
Oh, so I actually started with the Portuguese version. That's
right.
something that we discussed during these workshops. Like maybe try to write first in your own, like your native language. So, and also my story specifically had some poetry sort of. So that was hard even in Portuguese, but of course it was easier in Portuguese than in English.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I did that, and then I had to translate everything into English, which was very hard.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I got all the feedback in English,
yeah.
and after the book was published, then I took the story onto the translation team, and then we had it translated back into Portuguese.
Wild.
That was intense.
Yeah, that's also one of the reasons why it actually takes that long, because you are more capable of freely developing your ideas in your native language, at least for something that is not scientific related. So for something scientific related, I think I will harder more in Spanish than in English.
Okay.
And then you translate it to English so that the full team can read it. And then you get all the feedback. So then you start working with the English version. So at some point you need to go back to your original language. And that makes the process a bit longer.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
It's the best way we can do it at the moment, because for this really getting into the flow of writing nicely and for the general public, your mother language is easier.
Yeah, again, like we're not doing that alone, right? We have this awesome team like giving us feedback and helping with the translation. All our translations get like reviewed at least by one of us, like another person. So I never translate alone, and then we have it also professionally revised, like by people that are, you know, at least like researchers, like in the area of like linguistics. So they actually check that for you if everything is sound. And
that's great.
So you feel a bit more confident that like maybe it's not perfect, but you have a lot of people to back you up.
Even in your mother language you make mistakes because you don't use that all the time.
Absolutely,
or we are not professional writers. So
I'm the worst at it. I can't communicate my science accurately in German. It's weird.
Yeah.
But speaking of German, you both speak very, very good German, and also like with this Once Upon a Time storytelling thing, you also did some stuff in German, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, in the last time together.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, true. In June. It wasn't too long ago.
Yeah. What was that?
That was in the Klimabahn. So that's a tram in Bremen that with the initiative for Scientists for Future, the working group in Bremen. Now and then we organize talks within this tram, and we also try to do something for the younger public.
Yeah.
And they are in the last round. Rebecca and I read one of the stories of the second book.
So the tram goes around the city in Bremen, and you sit on it or stand on it? And
we were standing. Okay. It was not easy. That was actually another challenge, another layer of challenge that I was not expecting, because we had to read. So it was a reading event, right? So it's not like we can memorize. I mean, it's a short story, but still long enough. You cannot memorize it. So we had like, you know, a piece of paper, and we had to read. I had to read a lot, and you know, I'm someone that easily gets, you know, like motion sick.
Oh God, oh no.
To me, it was very hard. And if you ask me like where we went with the tram, I have no idea.
I blacked out.
I was just so focused on the reading and like, you know, also paying attention to the kids and whether they seem to be enjoying it or not. Okay. I just know that there were like a lot of curves, and there were like some situations where I had to hold on to the, you know. Like,
that's so great.
But we did manage to read the whole story.
The tram is actually running in normal lines for 2 years.
Do you know what number?
It changes.
It changes, okay. Right.
So I have seen it in the 6, in the 8, in the 4. Right. I'm very happy every time I see, Klimabahn. I point it out. For the talks, they are Sonderfahrten, so they are special trips that they make around. Starting at the main office of the BSAG, and then people have to register. That has also to do with the pandemic, to have a control on how many people get in, contact details, and so on. And then it is a round trip, and we come back, we step out, and then the next people get in and get the next talk.
Sweet. And is it a story that you've previously written, or is it a completely new one, or?
We picked one from the second book that we didn't write ourselves, but we had used that one already in some reading events. So it was also a bit modified, so to make it a bit shorter for telling, and to make maybe the dialogues a bit more vivid.
Yeah.
So we knew the story well. It was not our own, it was from Camila Neder, who used to work at Abbey. She hasn't finished yet, so maybe she will be coming back at Abbey. So she's between Argentina, Cordoba and Abbey.
Sweet. And do you, like you mentioned that you sort of monitored the children if they're liking it or not, how do you think the pickup was? Did you get any feedback?
I think it was really amazing. We asked some questions, like, when you're reading, it's kind of hard to get the feeling like, are they like understanding what we're saying? But afterwards we had, some time to actually talk to them about the story and ask, okay, what did you understand? What is the name of the characters? And the story, we did try to make it more concise and a bit, easier to understand, but it was still kind of dense. There are like some concepts and, like even some words in English, like we had to say like Potter Cove. And Potter Cove is just the name of the cove, the place where where Plumie the character is from. Yeah. So we were a bit worried, like, are they gonna get distracted by these complicated words, or but we were asking them, okay, what happened and what did you understand? And they seemed to have understood. I had the impression that they understood at least the main message of the story. They were incredibly aware of climate change. It was not news to them, like they knew what we were talking about. They knew about climate change, about protests. Some of them had been to protests, and they knew what had to be done. They mentioned both individual actions that we can take, but also like collective actions, like going to protests, joining a collective. And I was very surprised to hear that kind of awareness.
What was the age range of the kids?
Maybe between 6 and 11, 12.
Yeah, some were even like younger. Had the impression they were like some 5.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
There were some quite small, and the older one was going to the protest and annoying himself a lot.
Okay.
And speaking about density, Rebecca was saying that the story was still a bit dense, and there was also some density in the story in the sense that it was about meltwater carrying a lot of sediment into this cove in Antarctica and affecting the benthic life. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that they can immediately relate to. It's not like, for example, the musicians, which is a story that they probably know already. So this one is like far, far away in Antarctica, and they probably, I don't know if I'd ever heard about Potter Cove, probably not. And but they seem to have understood everything.
It's great. Maybe you did the because you did such a good job of telling it, of communicating it.
Yeah,
I tried. Being like motion sick and like I'm trying to read this in German.
I was doing the funny part, like screaming when the sediment was coming.
So I was the narrator, right? And Gema was Plumie, and the characters that were actually like speaking.
What is Plumie?
Plumie is the main character.
Yeah, it's the name, is Plumie from pluma in Spanish, that is feather, and it is a feather.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Okay. Up to coral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the Antarctic.
In the Antarctic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know nothing about Arctic
benthic
life.
I have to say, me neither. Like, I learned a lot just like reading the story, translating the story. Just you learn a lot also from environments where you don't work and you don't know so much about.
Incredible.
Yeah, the kids also learned.
For example, that's where you wanna be accurate. So if you want your story in Antarctica, you pick up a species that lives there. You don't pick up a species that lives in the Arctic or anywhere else where it's cold but doesn't live in Antarctica. Yeah. So this there is a lot of freedom in the stories because we need characters. So then the animals speak or the plants speak or whatever, but they have to be the animals and the plants that belong to that environment. Yeah, you're right. So if your favorite turtle is the green turtle, but it only lives in the Atlantic, you cannot place it in the Pacific, or you cannot make a world round because it doesn't in reality. So it has to stay
So normally at this part we get to your CVs, but because you're two and there's so much interesting stuff here to talk about, maybe we'll just get into why or when did you catch the science communication bug? Like when I mean you both speak a heap of languages. Like let me check. Like for Rebecca, it's Portuguese, English, and German fluent, then Spanish advanced, and basic French, Italian, Chinese. So I guess that lies the foundation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can say that it was definitely something that attracted me, like in the project, right? To see like so many languages and the team again was so diverse. So during my PhD, I already had a science communication or awareness raising project. So it's something that I'm attracted to. I can say it's not something new. It's not something that started with once upon a time.
It's all throughout your CV. There's always outreach, always springs out at me.
I did a whole bunch of like internships at tourist visitor centers, like turtle recovery centers, and I've always really enjoyed that. So it's not something new, but I have to say that it was during my PhD where it really approached or it really got closer to my research. So up until then, it was something sort of on the side and not really connected. And during my PhD, I actually found a way to connect both. So I used like the immediate results that I got from my field work to produce this, what I call awareness raising material. So science communication material that I actually was able to distribute in this area where I worked. And even the feedback that I got on the material, I could use it like for my research. So it was like things were combined, and it was like going back and forth between like research and science communication. And this is also something that I'm still doing, trying to do. So this project that I mentioned, it was a small grant that I got from the Ruffer Foundation in the UK, and I'm applying for a second round of the same grant, and I want to do something similar for my research here at HFMB.
Great.
Still being able to combine both things. I think they can walk hand in hand.
Nice. Science communicator through and through.
Yeah.
But when was your PhD? And in Brazil only? Or?
Oh no. The field work was in Brazil.
Yeah.
So I went there like several times, and but I did it in Bremen. Like I was at ZMT.
Right. Yeah.
But
at the center.
Leibniz Center for Tropical Marine Research.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, and the University of Bremen, of course, and a collaboration with the Institute for Coastal Studies at the University of Pará. So the state of Pará. Yeah. Now you know it's in Brazil. And I'm still working with the same institute for the postdoc research. Right. So
And what exactly do you do now?
Oh yeah.
Here.
So now I'm looking at specifically at what we call socio-ecological networks. So I'm looking at like how people are connected for certain conservation projects. So social groups are connected, but also how they're connected to the environment, to ecological systems or ecosystems. So that's what I'm looking at now, and still in Brazil. So as my main study site, I might go to other places. Yeah. But Brazil, is the main thing for now. Yeah. And
have you always gone back to Brazil for fieldwork? Or?
I was there like every year, and
nice.
It was great. I hope I can do that again. Of course, there was this big, really long hiatus, like with the pandemic. That was but it was. I managed. I'm really happy I did.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Gema?
I always had kind of some interest in science communication, but it was indeed through this project that I really noticed how much fun I have, and how satisfactory it is, how much I like the exchange with the people. Also in a way that make me or help me to decide to do an advanced training and to change my mindset because I was explaining so many things about the current climate change and about climate change in the past, and then often was the question, what can we do? Yeah. And there I didn't have answers or not answers that were for me scientifically grounded. So I have read a little bit about this and that, And then I decided, okay, I really want to learn about these things. And then I did an advanced training in sustainability, renewable energies, environmental law.
What kind of training is this? Is this by a uni or?
It was at the University of Bremen, Academy für Weiterbildung.
Yeah, okay.
So it was a full year of courses, 3 months of internship, and I really enjoy going back to school in a way and learning about things that I always wanted to learn, but I didn't have the capacity during my research career, because it's I'm reading complicated things all the time. In the evening, I don't feel like reading more complicated things, even though I would like to. But I'm not one of these persons who can work 60 hours a week and do everything well. And also the part of organizing this project. It was also fun in a way. I also realized, I have more tendencies to generalist, so I really like reading all these stories and commenting on all these stories. And when I do not know about the topic, I read something and then I can make some reasonable comments. And this also opened my mind to other kind of jobs and how I ended here, and I am a scientific coordinator now.
Yeah, exactly. So
I will be doing this in another scale, coordinating the scientific work at the institute in some of the projects, not in everything.
But you're organizing or you're science communicator for all of the projects, or for a specific one, or
for these two books. So I was coordinating these 2 groups of people, of 30 people. That it was not always easy, because everybody had their PhDs, their postdocs running, and you need to get things done anyway. And people are doing that mostly in the free time. So it's how to have, like you say in German, Linkhändchen.
Left hand.
Left hand. To keep the group together, motivated, happy, producing, and getting to a result. And I enjoyed it. So I thought, that can be something for me.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So that's exactly what you're doing now, or that led you to the job here at HFMB as science coordinator? Yeah. And so you would like to continue doing that?
In principle, yes. I have just started, so it is still too early for me to say how is my daily job here, but it's developing in a way I like. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
What do you organize? What's the main task you organize here?
My main task is organizing the writing of an excellent cluster proposal that at the end is gonna be a big change. That idea, it will be finally clarified during the next weeks. So and then I will be organizing some workshops here and there, and some of the interaction with the groups of sustainability at the Uni Oldenburg. Within the working groups here, trying to enable more interaction, more working together.
Very much needed. Do you work a lot with Ruth?
Not directly.
Okay.
Maybe it will come a bit in the future, but it's really for the overall, for the umbrella of the full institute, so I'm for a small part here.
Easy. And for you, Rebecca, what's next for you, do you think? How long is your project here?
Oh yeah, so I have 3 years,
of
which 6 months are gone. So yes, I have 2 years and a half, and I think the next steps are the actual field work, which is what I want to do on the upcoming months. So I'll be able to look at, as I mentioned, this social ecological networks, and it basically involves talking to people, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah, but it's even different when you are, they are basically local communities, right? Human. In this case, I'm talking about human communities.
Yeah.
So talking to them, I could talk to fish communities. Maybe that's, I wouldn't be surprised if some people could do it. But in my case, specifically, it's about human communities. And that's what I did in my PhD. And it was just amazing. I would enjoy it. I always enjoyed it so much. And I thought I need to keep doing that. I need to keep interacting with people and listening from them, their perceptions, their ideas, their opinions, their values. and their knowledge. I mean, they know so much, right, about the mangroves. I mean, of course, we have this, scientific, what we call scientific, quote unquote. We cannot see that. I'm doing like quote unquote with my
quotation marks.
But they have so much knowledge, and we learn so much from them, and we try. So basically, what my outreach project was doing was trying to build this bridge. So it's not just science communication in the sense of like one directional flow, right? Like from science to the rest of the interest groups, but more in the sense of like building this dialogue, because I think, it's not like we need to be understood by the rest of the community, but also in the sense of like, well, there's a lot that we don't understand either, right? So like this multi-directional flow of information.
Yeah, sweet. So this is already a bit off script. I think we went a bit off script, but only because your science communication project is so awesome and sounds so interesting. So I had to spend more time on this.
Yeah, and I would like to go back to a question that stayed kind of open, because you were saying, and this project got so extended, and were you expecting that? And there, Rebecca emailed me in March or in April. Do you remember? Maybe you want to say something?
No, I actually don't remember.
Okay.
I email you a lot, I have the feeling.
She wrote me at some point saying, hey, Gema, I'm working now at this cool institute in Oldenburg.
Oh, I see.
And I'm thinking about introducing the project.
Yes.
What do you think about it? And I was like, just give me a few weeks, because maybe I'm coming as well. So I was just being invited for the interview or something.
Yeah, it was really funny. I told her, like, Gema, I'm at this really cool institute now, and I want, everyone to get to know Once Upon a Time, and maybe we can have more people to join. So maybe that's something that we can do here. We can maybe organize what we call here like this research seminar, right? We have these presentations every couple of weeks. So we could do that and talk about the project, and maybe if anyone is interested in writing a story. I would not tell anyone how long it takes.
Exactly,
and how much work it is.
I'll edit it out.
Only the people that listen to the podcast will know that it's really hard work.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we're gonna say, it's easy peasy. You sit down in front of your laptop and you.
Yeah, I think I completely underestimated this until I talked to you now. This is incredible.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some people that can do that. I'm not gonna say that. It's a general thing, but in my case, it was definitely a lot of work.
It is also. You have all the other things to do, so even when you get the reviews, maybe you don't address them immediately. With scientific papers, so sometimes you get personally touched by the reviews, like I was doing a good job, and with this is even more harder, because it's a product of your heart, your story that you thought it's so nice, so cool, and then you get the critics, and you need some time first to digest, and then to realize, I see the point, I'm gonna change it, but I really like so much this sentence, but nobody understands that sentence, but it sounds so good. No, it's only to your ear sounds good. so it's a bit, it gets more to the personal part of writing and of feeling, like what is your taste and what is the other taste, and what is something that people will be able to understand or not.
I guess once you create a story, it's really hard to let go of it, right? Like you have the story, you have the characters. So if you have to change something like the plot, or you have to let some characters go, you're like, no,
it's my favorite.
No. So it is hard. It is kind of hard.
Yeah, those are insights that I've never heard about storytelling, so this is exceptionally incredible and valuable.
I bet if you speak with any writer, he or she will be telling something similar, I guess.
Yeah.
I hope.
Who knows?
But anyway,
or maybe it's just us.
With the podcast, we can make some first advertisement, like, hey, people at High FMB, maybe we can produce a third book of Once Upon a Time, scientific fairy tale.
Yes. Is there funding for it? Would there be funding for it?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
That will be the next step.
Okay.
First, getting a critical mass of people motivated, writing, and then
get onto Once Upon a Time.
I'm sure that the money could be worked around.
Yeah, we'll link it in the podcast description for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We're almost at an hour mark. Do you have anything that you that wasn't mentioned, that you want to still mention, that you want to say? Anything goes.
No, I will just say thank you to anyone who has listened until this point.
Maybe just to situate, because I guess Gema's sort of working on her own here at HFMB, but I am embedded sort of in the marine governance group. So I guess it's also important to say that I am working in a group of amazing people, and yeah, that really inspire me also to keep doing this outreach work. We have people working with the arts and, you know, working also with local communities, and yeah, it is really inspiring.
Yeah,
it motivates me.
Exactly.
And Kim Peters, my advisor here, she's also an inspiration.
Yeah.
So yeah, pushing me towards geography. And maybe I'll be able to write a totally different story, more like, you know, like geography oriented.
Exactly.
The other ones really like biology, so
yeah,
also expanding our fields of research and also what we write.
We're looking forward to it.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Everybody check out Once Upon a Time. Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Want to dive deeper? Surf over to hifmb.de or follow us on Twitter at hifmb_OL.